All right, welcome back. It's another Friday at noon in California and another live event talking about a variety of topics, starting with essential oils. And thank you for joining me again. Thank you for those of you who have been checking these out over the recordings over the week. And again, nice to see all of you. Thank you to all of you who are also going over to Floracopeia after these events. Appreciate it very much. All right, so our topic today is lemon-scented essential oils. Now, this is not a topic that has such a lot of really intriguing dimensions. It's really more medical. It's not like frankincense, like we talked about last week, where we have all of this spiritual history and culture and all these applications for meditation practice and so forth. And it's really not like helichrysum, which is a miracle oil for all kinds of dramatic healing of soft tissue injuries, or it's not like the Bhutan Jatamanzi, where it's a unique Floracopeia kind of story. It's really kind of medical aromatherapy, really. It's a collection of oils that have very strong antimicrobial powers. And that's really the way we can think about lemon-scented essential oils, is that they are highly practical, very efficient, very antimicrobial, basically medical. So this collection of oils that I'll break down a bit with details and how we use them and some safety concerns and so forth, it's really medical aromatherapy. It's less meditative, contemplative aromatherapy or some ecological background story. It's medical. So the oils that I will touch on briefly, because there's a lot that we can say about these oils. There's a lot of science, there's a lot of applications. But the oils that I'm going to talk about here are lemon and lemon-scented tea tree, which is actually a manuka oil. And then there's lemongrass, and then there's lemon balm, and then there is lemon-scented eucalyptus. All right, so we've got 5 oils to compare, and they all have varying degrees of a lemon scent. And because of that, they all have some similarities, but they also are used very differently and do have distinct characteristics that make them applicable in different ways for different things therapeutically. I will also mention that we are doing a limited release of a new oil over at Floracopeia. It is Lippia Javanica, and I'm going to give you an overview of what that particular oil is useful for. I know that many of you have seen it, you have already purchased some, and you would like to know a bit more about how to use that new oil. So these lemon-scented oils, lemon-scented tea tree, lemongrass, lemon eucalyptus, and lemon balm all have some shared characteristics and some unique different characteristics. So let me just break this down here a little bit. And as I mentioned, all of these oils are really medical essential oils, medical aromatherapy. And for the most part, most of them are really something that we use for preventing airborne pathogen, contagion, so they're all really good in a diffuser, good for atmospheric purification, good for the respiratory system, and again, as I've said, antimicrobial. Now, one oil here is distinctly different, and that is lemon balm, and it's different because it is in a different economic category, first of all, and it's also in a very different therapeutic category, even though it does smell like lemon. So lemon balm, first of all, we could set that aside, differentiate it, because it's really an expensive oil and it's hard to get sometimes also. So lemon balm we can put outside of this general category, and then the others, the lemon-scented tea tree, lemongrass, and lemon eucalyptus, these are all really low-cost oils, and that's because they are all produced in larger amounts, larger volumes. So the yield of the essential oil from these plants is much higher. That's what determines the cost of a lot of essential oils. So lemon balm, it takes a lot of plant material to get just a little bit of oil, and that's why lemon balm oil is very expensive. But other things like lemon-scented eucalyptus, it's produced in large volumes, and so it's not an expensive oil. So all of these oils, let's just take the lemon balm out of this discussion for a little while. I'll come back to it in a few minutes and give you the specific indications. It's a very, very important oil. But let's just go through and look at the major functions for all of these oils here. First, they're excellent for diffusing. So that's where I would say we get the most use out of these, is just use them in a diffuser. And they all blend very nicely with the respiratory oils, meaning the eucalyptus species and the conifers. So does that mean that we can take a eucalyptus species that is more commonly used, such as Globulus radiata, and add the leptospermum, the lemon-scented eucalyptus? Yes, absolutely. So there's a good blend for you. The lemon-scented eucalyptus has a fairly strong lemon fragrance, and so you don't necessarily have to blend it half and half. You could blend it 10%, 20%, something like that. Now what that is going to do is it's going to expand the range of the antimicrobial powers, because when you blend different essential oils, you're increasing the diversity of the compounds that are in the essential oils, and this is one of the basic ways that essential oils work as a plant immune system, is they have an incredible range of compounds that the microbes can't develop resistance to. So if you have two species of eucalyptus oil, you're using them together, then you're going to enhance the antimicrobial power. Now, one of the main things that we can think of when we're talking about lemon-scented oils is not just that they're good for diffusing, but they're actually the basis of house cleaning products. So there's a lot of lemon-scented oils that go into house cleaning products for surfaces and for diffusing in the atmosphere. So I mentioned the power of atmospheric purification from these oils. But also what we see is, lemon essential oil goes into countless cleaning products. And there's a reason for that, and that's because it kills the pathogens on contact. So there's another thing to note here. All of these are good for respiratory blends. They're all good in the diffuser. They're all relatively safe if you put a drop of the oil or a blend onto a pot of hot water, cover your head with a towel and breathe it. I'll give you some specific formulas here in a minute. But there is a word of caution here, and that is that the lemon-scented oils all have a propensity toward dermotoxic potential. That means it can burn your skin if you put them on undiluted, and especially lemon oil itself has phototoxicity concerns. Citrus oils, you put them on the skin, whether they are undiluted or diluted, and you go out into the sun, it enhances the absorption of UV light. And so if you put a citrus oil on your skin and go outside, it will burn. And a lot of people don't recognize that until too late. So do not put citrus oils on. And I also recommend don't put any of these lemon-scented oils on the skin. These are not good oils for skincare treatment. In general, there are some specific things that can be done at very low concentrations, high dilutions, with some specific oils that are lemon-scented, but you need a bit more education. So this is just a very brief overview. So be careful with the lemon-scented oils for the skin. And again, I'm going to say something that I've said before, I'll say it many times. Dermotoxic reactions are not a detox. That is a fraudulent claim. Dermotoxicity is toxicity. So please, don't hurt yourself with essential oils. Now, here we can also mention one of the most common ways that people are hurting themselves, and that is by taking lemon oil internally. This is a very, very widespread, fraudulent piece of advice. Do not put lemon essential oil on water and drink it. Now, of course, lots of people are going to say, well, it helped me so much, and it boosted my immune system. Well, it's the equivalent of drinking several lemons. Right? You do that every day. Eventually what's going to happen is that you are going to develop irritation of the esophagus and the stomach. And unfortunately, when you look at the adverse reaction databases. People are getting seriously harmed by drinking essential oil of lemon. So please don't put lemon on your water and drink it. And don't put these lemon-scented oils on your skin. All right, so what are some of the characteristics then in terms of aromatherapy that we can talk about? Scientific antimicrobial. These are major antimicrobial oils for atmospheric purification and for the respiratory system, for colds and flus, preventing contagion, and for cleaning products that are going to kill the microbes on contact. Then, emotionally and mentally, what we can say about these oils is that they are emotionally uplifting and mentally stimulating. So if you are doing a lot of mental work and you have a diffuser going, then two oils that would go very nicely together would be lemon essential oil and just any type of your favorite eucalyptus or a conifer. Any of the respiratory oils also have mentally uplifting, energizing kinds of effects. So that's a very brief overview, and I just wanted to go through and touch on a few major points from each of these oils, and then come back to lemon balm. So the lemon-scented tea tree is actually a manuka oil, and we know manuka honey for its antimicrobial powers. And so the leptospermum, the lemon-scented the lemon-scented tea tree, highly antimicrobial. So antiseptic properties, here is where we get into the medical language of aromatherapy. Antiseptic, antimicrobial, anti-infectious, antiviral, and so forth. And there is a lot of scientific research about these particular oils, this class of oils. In terms of being able to kill pathogens, there's a lot of science about how the oil will work in a petri dish. And this is where a lot of confusion is coming, because people take these in vitro studies, something that has been found to kill a virus, a bacteria, a fungi, in a petri dish, and then they say, well, that means it must be good to use it in the human body. That's a big discussion, that just because something will kill something in a petri dish, it doesn't mean that we can use it in the human body that way. So we always have to look at the big picture and say, well, all right, if it's antimicrobial, what does that actually mean? Will it kill the viruses? Well, it could. But the problem is that the range, the spectrum, is so narrow between being able to use an essential oil for internal purposes and active infections and the toxicity from that oil. So this is a topic you're going to hear me talk about a lot, because there's a lot of confusion about how do we use these oils for antimicrobial powers. But we can definitely use them in a diffuser, and we can definitely use them for cleaning products to keep the home hygienic, and we can definitely use them for steam inhalation. Just keep the dose really, really low. So the lemon-scented tea tree is really nice for clearing the sinuses and for coughs and colds and flus and things like that. Just add it with tea tree, okay? And here's a simple blend, is that you can take 1 part of eucalyptus, and you can take 1 part of tea tree, and you can take 1 part of lemon-scented tea tree. So equal parts. That's just a starting point. You can adjust those, but it's a totally flexible type of, it's not rocket science, it's cooking. You can blend it pretty much however you like. And that'll be good for treatment of colds and flus. Okay, so the lemon-scented tea tree actually has a lot of research showing that it's very good against staph. Okay, and that is one place where essential oils can be used medically, and that is with staph infections. You can do compresses on the skin, okay, for infections on the skin. And just make sure that the dilution is very high, okay? Concentration is very, very low. Tea tree would be one of the first choices. Lemon-scented tea tree is another good one. But of course, this is now getting into medical kinds of treatment. You've got to do other things as well. But I'm just sharing some information. I know people have had some serious staph infections that they've reported to me that they have been able to actually get under control and treat just using essential oils. but you need to be very careful. Just mention it is good. So next, let me give you a few comments about lemongrass. And lemongrass is a wonderful essential oil. It, again, excellent in the diffuser, very good for mentally stimulating purposes. All the citruses are basically energizing by nature when we are inhaling them, and they're also mood uplifting, meaning that they are basically happy oils, and we can include the whole range of citruses. Lime and grapefruit and bergamot and all of these are all in the same basic category in terms of how they work through the olfactory limbic system on our moods. So lemongrass is something that we can link back to some of the traditional ethnobotanical uses, because wherever we see the use of an aromatic plant in history and culture, we can assume that a lot of the uses of the essential oil are similar, because when people use aromatic plants, the active ingredient is the essential oil. So that's something we're going to see here when I touch on the new oil that we're releasing, the Lippia Javanica, because it actually has more information about it as a traditional herbal medicine than about an essential oil. So many new oils are coming out that are based on the distillation of plants that have a long history of use, but the oil doesn't have a long history of use, so we have to extrapolate some things. And lemongrass is a good example of this. Lemongrass has a long history of use in ethnobotanical culture for cleansing, and it's a little interest historically that the way that lemongrass came into popular use in the United States as an herb was actually through the Caribbean, and it was being used by the African cultures who had been enslaved and taken to the Caribbean, and they brought the knowledge of lemongrass, using it for cleansing their temple spaces. And so I have heard, and I think this is probably valid, plausible information, that the lemongrass itself was originally used as a cleansing agent for the homes, but it was also used for the temples and the shrines and the altars. And, excuse me, the way that it was done is that the lemongrass itself was soaked in a bucket of water to make like a lemongrass tea and to soften up the grass itself so it starts to release the oil. And then the grass, bunches of the grass, were actually used to wash the walls and the floors. And that's a beautiful demonstration of sort of like early house cleaning products using the plant itself. Now, if you think of what's happening there, then the essential oil is being released from the grass into the environment, and that is having an antimicrobial effect. A lot of the studies about the lemon-scented oils, lemongrass being one of them, demonstrate that these oils have significant antiviral powers. And so they're getting a lot of attention now, of course, with COVID, but we should be aware that the pandemic of SARS-CoV-2 virus is only one viral pandemic that's happening. There's all kinds of pandemics that are out there. HIV is still a pandemic, and herpes is still a pandemic. So there's a lot of viral pandemics that are out there, and the essential oils and herbal medicine is getting a lot of attention because they're finding so many antiviral powers in these plants. Now, one of the things that's interesting about the lemon-scented oils, all of them, but again, you don't want to include lemon balm because of the cost, but they all have significant mosquito repellent properties, not just mosquito repellent, but insect repellent properties in general. So some of the studies about lemongrass and other lemon-scented essential oils are stating that they actually have a dual function when the viral infection is spread through the mosquito vector. And what that means is that if you use lemongrass in a diffuser, that first of all, it helps to break the spread, reduce the spread of the virus itself. And then it actually can be used as an antiviral in various ways, symptomatically for the treatment of the condition. So this is a big topic, but I just wanted to introduce it to you to let you know that diffusing the lemon-scented oils is primarily insect repellent. That's another aspect of repelling pathogens, is repel the insects that spread the pathogens. So there's a little bit about lemongrass. Now, lemongrass is also something that works on deeper levels in the body. It's not just antimicrobial, which means that it's a great one to add to the respiratory blends. It goes well with all the respiratory oils for colds and flus, but it is also something that has a tonifying, energizing, balancing effect for the nervous system, the endocrine system, and the musculoskeletal system. So you can think about that in terms of how to blend it and how to use it. So lemongrass can go into a musculoskeletal massage oil, for example. You don't want to use high concentrations, but if you add it to an herbal massage oil, it can increase the benefits. So it's good for musculoskeletal pain and inflammation, for sore muscles, and it's also strengthening for the muscles and connective tissues. That's one of the ways that it's used. Lemongrass also is regarded as an oil that is very helpful for the skin, but here it's all dose dependent. Any essential oil where you hear information that says it's good for your skin, it is obviously dose dependent, because simply being concentrated as an essential oil can be very problematic for a lot of people's skin because it's concentrated. So therefore, we always start, and here's a good general principle for you to think about. Whenever you hear that an essential oil is good for the skin, automatically think very low concentration, high dilution, highly diluted in other things, and may I recommend that the starting point with dermal applications of essential oils be with a hydrosol instead, okay? And even lemongrass hydrosol can be irritant to the skin for some people. Here's another very important thing about all of these lemon-scented oils. Always think in terms of phototoxic risk, okay? So, all of these are energetic. Energetic meaning that they're uplifting, and lemongrass is part of that. So lemongrass, you can combine it with any of the other lemon oils, lemon-scented oils, and again, the oils that tend to be very good for mental energy and concentration are going to be the conifer oils. Right? Not the Javanica oil, which will help you sleep. Helichrysum is not really like that. Frankincense can be mentally uplifting, but it's more of a spiritual kind of contemplative, meditative kind of fragrance for most people. All right, so that's a little bit about lemongrass. There's pages and pages, but that's where more advanced education comes in. And let me give you a nice little blend here that you can, this is an idea that you can use to increase your mental energy, okay? And stimulate the hair and the scalp, because anything that stimulates hair growth, supports hair growth, and is good for the scalp in general, is also going to be stimulating to your mind, most likely. So you can combine lemongrass and rosemary and cedar and lavender. Those are nice together. And so how about, you can start with rosemary. Rosemary is a really good oil for memory, concentration, and hair growth. And how about you take about 8 drops of rosemary and 4 drops of lemongrass, okay? And then cedar is a really good oil for the scalp and for the hair. And you can put in 2 drops of that and then 4 drops of lavender. And so just mix these together. Again, it's 8 drops of lavender, and this is recorded so you can come back and watch it. 8 drops of rosemary, 4 lemongrass, 2 cedar, and 4 lavender. Then take that blend and say in a teaspoon of a nice oil for the hair, which would be something like argan oil, in a teaspoon, put 1 or 2 drops of that blend, okay? And then just take a little bit of that and just massage it into the scalp. And you can leave it on for 15 minutes and then take a shower, wash it out. You don't want to leave those strong aromatic types of oils in the hair for too long. You can if you want. If it's diluted, it's not a problem, but it can be a little bit overstimulating. But I've heard really good testimonials from people who have reported really significant improvement in cognitive functions. And I did mention this in terms of some of the past discussions as far as what essential oils can do for our brain and mental state. Rosemary is a major oil for this, but the addition of the lemongrass really boosts it. Okay, so lemongrass is being added here for skin purposes, for hair growth stimulant purposes, and it's also energizing for the mind. So I've heard a lot of good testimonials from people about how using stimulant essential oils diluted in a carrier oil as a scalp massage and doing it a few times a week really helps concentration, sometimes dramatically, and improvement of learning and memory. All right, so it's a good tool. It's a good way to think about using essential oils. All right, now I'm going to switch over and talk a little bit about lemon balm, because this is a totally different herb and it's a totally different oil. It smells like lemon, but it has really different effects. Some effects are the same. All right, we know that it's still mentally uplifting, but lemon balm used in herbal medicine is actually not the same as the use of lemon-scented essential oils. Lemon balm as an herb is strengthening to the central nervous system and is renowned in herbal history as being something that improves memory. And it's very gentle, and it's a major herb for settling a nervous stomach that is affected by anxiety. So it's an anxiolytic herb, gently calming, gently relaxing, and antidepressant, and good for digestion. Now, when it comes to lemon balm, a lot of people know that lemon balm is used symptomatically. Both the herb and the essential oil is used symptomatically for reducing some of the symptoms of hyperthyroid. It's one of the 3 major herbs for relaxing the symptoms of hyperthyroid, along with linden flowers and bugleweed. Okay, now the question now comes, well, if lemon balm is calming for symptoms of hyperthyroid, does that mean that it is lowering thyroid function? And this has been a topic of discussion over and over again. And so the question then is, will drinking lemon balm tea or using lemon balm as an essential oil, is it bad for people with hypothyroid? Right. Well, I have heard all sorts of stories about this. It's in the category of what we would say a theoretical concern. All right, so here's what I can say about this. I have not seen any direct correlation between the use of lemon balm and actual thyroid levels going down. Okay, and so here's what we're really talking about, is we're talking about the difference between the herbal medicine model and the allopathic biochemical model. Now, to illustrate this, I can tell you that I have heard some testimonials from people who have hypothyroid and they drink lemon balm tea and they say that it helps them. It does not affect their thyroid levels, but it has an uplifting antidepressant effect. You see, so what we have to be concerned about then is, does herbal medicine actually change the biochemistry of the thyroid hormone in the body, or does it actually directly affect the thyroid gland? What I can say is you would have to drink a lot of lemon balm tea to probably start to make any serious impact on thyroid function. And if you are consuming moderate amounts at normal dosages, it's probably not going to be terrible for you. But it could have real benefits symptomatically. And furthermore, what you want to think about here is that drinking lemon balm tea could make you feel better while not affecting your thyroid, but at the same time, just use some common sense here. So this is in the category of what we call theoretical concerns. A theoretical concern is, well, all right, if it reduces the symptoms of hyperthyroid, then it's probably better to use it for cases of overstimulation and heat coming from hyperthyroid. Probably better not to use it if you have really serious hypothyroid. So there's a little bit of an overview of one of the theoretical concern type of discussions that we have in the field of herbal medicine. And I'll just say that the community of herbalists is sort of divided on this. And whenever people are divided about a topic like this, it usually means that we don't know, or that the information is conflicting. So what that means is that some people say, well, it's a theoretical concern. Don't consume massive amounts if you have hypothyroid. And other people say, it's fine. It's not going to make a difference. Now, what does this have to do with lemon balm oil? Well, the lemon balm oil actually has some of the same effects when we use it in aromatherapy. It tends to have a calmative kind of effect. Now, here's where there's a real distinct difference between lemon balm and the other lemon-scented oils, and that is that lemon balm really seems to be more of an herb and an essential oil that works on the brain, okay? It does have some significant antiviral powers that I'll mention, but really it's an herb for cognitive function. And some studies have found that what it does is that it has a supportive effect on the acetylcholine receptor sites, which is one of the areas that breaks down in dementia. And so it has been found to be helpful. A particularly important study came out several years ago and said that it has been found to be helpful in aromatherapy massage for the agitation of Alzheimer's dementia. Okay, now obviously, when these studies come out, they're a little bit complicated to sort out what's doing what, because massage itself can be helpful. But aromatherapy massage is actually more helpful because you're also getting the olfactory component to it. So this is linking, again, this is taking something from past herbal history and linking it to the modern use of the essential oil. Now here's another thing that I will share from clinical practice, and thank you to those of you who have contacted me through my consulting site. I'll just give you that real quickly here. It's crowconsultations.com, and that is for your personal questions, medical questions. That is where I talk to people about their health history in detail. So one of the common conversations that I've had for decades actually is about the use of lemon balm for its antiviral powers for herpes outbreaks. And what I can tell you is that some people report near miraculous results. It doesn't always work for everybody, but there is scientific confirmation of this, that it has been found that the lemon balm essential oil here specifically will actually kill the virus if it comes in contact with the virus, not once the virus is inside the cell, you see. So that's one of the things that we have to consider. What stage of viral replication and infection are these oils working? But because it will deactivate the virus, what that means is that it can help reduce the spread from the herpes lesion, okay? And so therefore, the studies propose that lemon balm essential oil can be an ingredient in salves and ointments that are applied topically to active lesions. And this is fairly common now. There are a lot of lemon balm products that are out specifically for this, and many people report that they really work. You know, that they reduce the severity of the outbreak. Now, here's the thing with the tea, is in order for this to really have a benefit, to reduce the severity and the frequency, actually, of herpes outbreaks, is that you need to drink fairly high levels of the tea at fairly high concentrations. As soon as the outbreak starts to come, drink a lot of lemon balm tea for several days. And in some cases, what you want to do here, I'll just give you a brief recipe, just something that I have repeated many times. Typically what we do when we make a herbal infusion, about 1 teaspoon per cup of hot water, steep it for about 5 or 10 minutes, but you can easily double or triple that dose. 2 or 3 teaspoons soaked in a cup of hot water, infused in a cup of hot water, and you can infuse it for 15 or 20 minutes. You see, so make it really strong. And then take a half a cup of that several times during the day, even up to 6 times, you see. So you're getting 3 cups of really strong lemon balm tea spread out over 6 doses. And then put the lemon balm essential oil directly on the lesion or put it into a salve. It is relatively safe and non-irritant to put the essential oil on directly to the lesion. It can be beneficial that way. I've heard no adverse reactions of doing it like that, but I have heard a lot of testimonials that people say, this is predictable, it's repetitious, I can depend on it. If I feel an outbreak coming on, I dose up on the lemon balm tea and it really knocks it out. Other people say it reduces the length of the outbreaks. And then what we have to do is, once we've got that as a kind of short-term immediate first aid treatment to treat the outbreak itself, then we put that into the context of a larger herbal program for boosting immunity and keeping the virus under control so that it doesn't come out as much. So that's a little bit about lemon balm. It's got great antiviral powers for herpes. It's got great cognitive supporting functions, and those are 2 of its main uses. So the antiviral powers, you could use lemon balm if you wanted in some of those respiratory blends for the antiviral powers. But what I would say, if we want to translate the antiviral powers of the other essential oil, lemon-scented essential oils, what we think about is the lemon-scented tea tree, the lemon-scented eucalyptus, lemon itself, and lemongrass. All of those are going to be good in the treatment of viral upper respiratory infections, or even influenza, all right? But just be careful on the skin and use them safely. So I think that's about everything that we have time for now. I hope that's helpful. And now I want to touch on this new oil that we are releasing over at Floracopeia. It's a limited release, and that means that we feature an oil that is not so well known. Sometimes it's actually like a one-time distillation, and that was the case when we did the Jatamansi oil from Bhutan, and that was specifically done just for us this one time during the year because the harvesting of the Jatamansi roots is so highly regulated now. So it will be back next year, but we only got a very small amount of it, and that was it. So in this case, it's a limited release in the sense that not that there's a shortage of this oil or it was done just by this, artisanal distiller for us. It's just that it's not a common oil, that's all. It's kind of like a well-kept secret, actually, in the aromatherapy world. And this is the Lippia Javanica. Okay, now Lippia Javanica is not a lemon-scented oil. It's actually got kind of a tropical, fruity, floral kind of fragrance. But it is an example of one of these oils that has a long history of use in ethnobotanical medicine as an herb. And so therefore, if we look at how this herb is used in African herbology, we see the potential for the use of this essential oil. Now, what I will say first, for those of you who have purchased it since we released it a couple days ago, I see that a lot of people are buying it. It's a unique oil, and for those of you who are really interested in building up your essential oil collection, it's a good one to have. But I will give you a word of caution about this oil. The main thing about this oil is that it's really thick, and some oils are just like that, and we should know how to deal with it. So myrrh oil, for example, is very, very thick, and if you keep myrrh oil for any length of time, it will actually crystallize in the bottle. And the same thing will happen with Lippia Javanica. Some oils are thick and they're not going to crystallize. Sandalwood oil, for example, is relatively viscous, and vetiver oil and things like that. But for oils like this, you would probably like to take it out of the bottle with the orifice reducer, or just take the orifice reducer out after a period of time, because you won't be able to get it out. And you would probably like to use it in a blend primarily. So what you can do then is mix it with other essential oils so that it is less viscous, and that way it's not going to crystallize and clog up the bottle. It is okay to use the thicker oils in a diffuser if the diffuser is the water-based ionizing type. Okay, in other words, the type you take the lid off, you put the water in, it's just a bowl of water, and then that water vibrates and releases the aromatic vapor. Those types of diffusers don't clog up, and we don't have to be concerned about the thickness, the viscosity of the oil. They're very easy to clean, but this is an oil that you definitely do not want to put into the atomizing type of diffuser, where the oil is forced through these glass tubes with an aquarium pump type of thing. And those diffusers will definitely get destroyed by any type of thick oil. Sandalwood oil, vetiver oil, something like this will definitely not work. So Lippia Javanica doesn't work in the pump type of diffusers. So what is this? Well, it's actually, one of its common names is wild verbena, and it is one of the most aromatic shrubs that grows in the South Africa region, and that includes several countries. But what's interesting is that this essential oil is coming from South Africa itself, the country South Africa. And this is a country that has, over the last several decades, really developed its essential oil industry and has taken advantage of a lot of the native plants there. So a lot of essential oils on the market in the aromatherapy industry have been brought to us by distillers in South Africa who have recognized the commercial potential and the potential of the plants that they have there in their region, and the traditional ethnobotanical uses as well. So this is kind of like an underrated essential oil that has a major use in ethnobotanical herbology. So in the ethnobotanical traditions, and this is how we can translate the use of this oil. So in other words, we have this oil, it's thick and sticky and difficult to work with. What are we going to do with it? Well, let's look at what the native people the indigenous people have done in the ethnobotanical traditions. So the stems, the leaves, flowers, the whole plant, but primarily the leaves, has been used to make a tea and steam treatment, and also fumigation, incense, for a wide range of respiratory conditions. And that includes coughs and colds and asthma, all sorts of bronchial problems. It's taken as a tea for its fever-reducing properties. So we can assume that it is basically antiviral. It sounds to me like it's in the same category as a lot of herbs that we drink for colds and flus, that we drink hot for colds and flus, that have, when you take them apart chemically, you go into them, we find that they actually have antiviral powers. You see. So we can take that principle and we can apply it then to the use of this oil. What do we want to do? Take that oil, dilute it down with, how about Eucalyptus radiata from South Africa? How about lemon-scented eucalyptus, the leptospermum, the manuka, which also can come from South Africa, as well as Australia, and put it in a diffuser, all right? That's how we can think about translating these traditional uses into modern aromatherapy. Now, the tea is also used extensively on the skin for all kinds of bites and stings and infections and inflammation and so forth. But here is where we have to be very careful translating that information with the essential oil. This oil is also phototoxic, so be careful. And when we don't have a lot of information or widespread use, we always have to err on the side of caution. So use this oil sparingly and just understand, okay, this is a real concentrated version of a tea plant, okay, a plant that's used mostly in infusion form. Well, it's considered to have some of the same properties as the lemon-scented oils in terms of its effects on the mood and the mind. It's got floral notes, however, and it's not a lemon-scented oil. Oils that are floral, by whose olfactory profile is primarily floral, are actually more in the anti-anxiety, calmative, and antidepressant sort of range. Okay, so flower oils really help to kind of bring down the anxiety and bring up the mood. That's how we can think about it. The lemon-scented oils really bring up the mood. All right, they're not stimulants. They're not going to make anxiety worse, but this oil, we can definitely, because of its olfactory profile, we can definitely put it in the category of relaxant overall. And so for that reason, we can then think of blending it with flower oils. So you would like to dilute it maybe with lavender and geranium. That would be a very nice blend. And lavender, of course, is strongly antimicrobial for colds and flus. And so what you could do is you could use some of the lemon-scented tea tree and eucalyptus, or a regular Eucalyptus radiata or globulus, and you could start a respiratory blend, but then you could put some flower oils in that respiratory blend for having more of a calmative kind of effect. And that's really nice in terms of enhancing the therapeutic properties of the oil. So it's not just respiratory, it's not just antimicrobial, it's also soothing, because when we have a fever, we're fighting something off. Agitation, is part of it. So it can help to calm things down as well. All right, so the oil that I am speaking of is the new oil that we are doing a limited release on, which is the Lippia Javanica. All right, so that's a quick overview, and of course, a lot of information because there were several oils there. But I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the question file here. All right, so a lot of things have come in, and thank you. Lemon balm tincture. What do I mean? All right, so there are three forms that we can think about lemon balm. One is lemon balm tea, and I gave you the recipe, especially the highly concentrated type. Then there's the lemon balm essential oil, and I did explain that we can use that in a diffuser, or we can put it in an ointment, and we can apply it topically. And then somebody is asking about lemon balm tincture, okay, and that's the alcohol extract. Let me give you a very important, simple principle of how we can combine herbs to have a much broader spectrum. I've just described three ways of using one species: lemon balm tea, alcohol extract, tincture, and essential oil. And guess what? You can use all three of those together, you see. And that's a really nice way of thinking about combining herbs and essential oils, is that if you are having the herpes outbreaks, drink the lemon balm tea. And not only do you drink the lemon balm tea in that highly concentrated form, but you can add, say, a half a teaspoon of lemon balm tincture to it, and it's going to be even stronger. All right, so there's so much discussion we can have about combining it, but that is the answer to that. And then here's another one. Lemon balm hydrosol antiviral? Yes, and that adds another way that we can use the same species. So 4 ways to use lemon balm: tea, tincture, essential oil, and hydrosol. And that actually demonstrates a very, very important principle of herbal medicine, is that the same species can be used in so many diverse ways. And the more ways that we use it, the more effectively we can treat things. So, good question. And here's another one. Is blending with lemon the same as using other citrus oils? Yes, it's the same in the sense that all the citrus oils are potentially dermotoxic, and they are all generally uplifting and mood enhancing, and they're all antimicrobial that can be used for purifying the atmosphere as well. So let's see here. Before I sign off, I do want to say thank you to all of you who are retailers who have a wholesale account with Floracopeia. Thank you very much for doing that. It's great to see you here. And if you are interested in a wholesale account, you can contact us. So what else? Is lemon good for foot or toe fungus with which carrier oil? If so, which one? Well, let's talk about fungus. And let's talk about what essential oils will and will not do for fungus, or herbal medicine, what it will and will not do. Here's the thing, is that fungal infections are really challenging. Okay, now there's different types, and of course we have to make a medical distinction. But if we're just talking about athlete's foot, and we're just talking about stuff on the toenail, you know, sometimes that something like that, it's really better just to treat it with over-the-counter stuff. We could do something with natural medicine, but it's going to take so long and such a effort to get rid of it that it's really a problem. So when it comes to some types of fungal treatments, I say just use over-the-counter. Definitely don't go down the road of using allopathic antifungals internally, because that can be really immensely damaging to the liver. But what I will say is that fungus is really stubborn, okay? Species of fungus have been around for millions and millions of years, and there's a reason why they've been around. So in a lot of cases, what I have heard is people battle fungus with natural methods. They might keep it under control. It comes back easily. We have to learn how to coexist with fungus, basically. So I can't offer a whole lot of hope for common kinds of infections. But over-the-counter stuff frequently can knock it out, or at least keep it under control also. What's more important, and thank you for asking this question, what is more important is a much broader conversation about why our body immunologically is susceptible to fungal infections. And that is very important to consider now, because fungal infections are getting more virulent, just like the viruses and the bacteria, and people's immune systems are more stressed. And one of the things that's happening here in our country, you know, I'll go on a little political tangent here for a moment. Our country is divided into red states and blue states, which is so symbolic because half of the country is on fire and the other half is underwater. And so the areas that are underwater, well, that's where mold is a huge issue. And I will just say that mold in the home is linked to all kinds of microbial pathogens, and aromatherapy is a major treatment. Now, we have to understand that there's all kinds of different levels of treatment and remediation in the home, but aromatherapy can be very good for a basic sort of superficial level that can not only reduce some of the load in the house, it can also be used for purification in terms of the cleaning products, okay? And it can also give a pretty significant level of ongoing support to the respiratory immune system. So all of these things are linked. Whether it's the mold from the flooding or whether it's the smoke from the fires, essential oils have the link to the respiratory system and to the atmospheric purification. So they do play a role in both cases. But this is a big topic. Maybe I will just devote one of our sessions here just to this topic of environmental remediation in the home for these issues. Okay, so let's see here. I think we can do one more. The best oil or blend to treat a respiratory infection. And then another one just came, how to make a cleaning spray. Well, a cleaning spray is really simple. You can just use, if you want to make it fairly strong, what I suggest is about 1 part essential oil blend to 3 parts of water in a spray bottle. That's pretty strong. Okay. Typically in the commercial products, what you will see is that the essential oil content is like 1 or 2%. Okay, and the reason that you can use a stronger one is on surfaces that aren't going to be damaged by essential oils. So don't put essential oils on your fine antique wooden tables. It can, damage the finish on them. But you can use a blend like I just gave you. Say, take a blend of lemon-scented tea tree and lemon eucalyptus. Make a blend equal parts. In a 4-ounce spray bottle, put 1 ounce and then 3 ounces of water. Shake it up and you can spray that. You can use that on the bathroom floor. Strongly antimicrobial and nicely aromatic. You can use it on the countertop of the kitchen as long as it's not going to damage anything. So that's a very simple homemade cleaning product. We do have some information in our blogs also about how to do that. It's really easy to make a lot of cleaning products. And then finally, the best oil or blend for respiratory infections. I've given several versions in this talk, so you can review those. But let me just finish by saying that you could use something like the Eucalyptus radiata, okay, and a conifer oil, like, whatever you like. Maybe it's going to be our next secret release of a unique Himalayan conifer. But any conifer that you like, spruce, pine fir, or juniper is going to be good. And that can mix half and half with eucalyptus and say spruce oil, half and half. And then you can add one more part, equal parts there, say tea tree, and then another equal part of lemon-scented tea tree. And then what you can do with that is 1 drop of that blend can go on a pot of hot water, cover your head with a towel, and breathe it. And that's going to be very good for colds and flus. All right, so I think it's a good place to stop here. I just want to say thank you again very much for your interest in this important subject. And next week we will have another discussion about some further important essential oils. I'm going to leave you in suspense about what it's going to be. But as you know, I always use the essential oils as just the starting point for deeper discussions about other related topics, whether it's our spiritual practice or whether it's what relevance does this have to the climate emergency. We're always talking about plant medicine in a bigger context. So thank you to everybody. Use your oils safely and have a wonderful week.